a special grace was given to St Norbert as an accident turned into a blessing. As he fell off his horse, he was given an illumination. His conscience showed where he was, should he die at that point, and he realized how fragile human life was, and how brittle was the pleasure of the court life that he was enjoying, face to face with the crunch, judgment. Quid haec ad eternitatem, what this before eternity? And so it was that he pleaded for ordination, for he was only in the minor orders, and he was given it, because of his insistence, fairly quickly, indeed consecutively, what we call the Norbertine privilege, diaconate and priesthood, one after the other. And he, in his person, combined several vocations, even an element of eremiticism at one point. He was a great magnet. Wherever he preached, souls came. He founded, therefore, places where they could pray together and grow together. And when it became a question of his own becoming a bishop, indeed an archbishop, at Magdeburg, what did he do but insist on having good and holy brethren to be as satellites around him? And so it was that huge good came out of his presence in that eastern part of Europe. He knew St Bernard of Clairvaux. The Praemonstratensians took on many of the Cistercian usages, it would seem. They are the most monastic of the canons regular. And in a good Praemonstratensian monastery, the balance is there. And balance has to be the hallmark of the Praemonstratensian. To contemplate and to hand on the contemplated things, but there has to be this anchoring in the unchanging peace of the Blessed Trinity, back to base, back to base, back to base, called to base by the ancient bell, and the chant which goes up is unhurried. And that is the mode that gives security and serenity to all the rest. Without the protection of a structure, things can go awry. Activism. We have more to give if we have received it first and in depth. And the Church needs friends of Jesus, not functionaries. We need to be in love with Jesus and to have quality time for him. And with that, perhaps a few words, but given with love, will go much further than much over-programmed pastoraling, which is actually not necessarily the best because it's our own. We leak too much. We need to be able to keep the lid on our souls, and that means to have a certain contemplative life wherever we are. We never leave our interior cell, and we willingly come back to the tabernacle. Our home is the tabernacle. Indeed, it has been said of the Norbertines that the order is gloriously Eucharistic and Eucharistically glorious. When unsure of the way ahead, because of the troubles that had come to the surface at Kilnacrot, now closed unfortunately, I wasn't sure what to do, and people were saying to get in contact with the Superior of Sant'Antimo, and the letter which came back from Dom André was actually quite powerful, and one line remained forever engraved in my mind. This element of being bathed in solemn worship. Cela nous donne une grande sérénité. That gives us a great serenity. And I perceived in there that there was a man who cared, because he wrote a long, profound letter, and also that his words were echoing something which resonated throughout my being, the praise of glory, and everything outflowing from there. Essentially, being a contemplative, but available, ready for every good work. The dynamics then were slightly different from that of the monastic life based on the rule of St Benedict, where the hours of work can be actually manual, and it is not essentially based on the priesthood. That may or may not be there. But in the canonical life, it is there. And the inner dynamic is based on it. One lives from the fact of being ordained, and therefore one specializes in things of the soul and of the priesthood. Indeed, hardly ordained, one is given many things on that level to do. And hence it is that one has a certain competence in that realm, the proof being that even the enclosed Benedictines in France would make appeal to us to preach their retreats, because they wouldn't give retreats. And so it was that at that point, even though the pull to become a hermit was actually quite strong as well, this letter came at a providential time and was a message surely from the ultimate author, God the Father. And being aware that it would be wise to leave that glorious army of those who corresponded on earth to the angels in heaven, giving gratuitous praise and beauty, the maximum thereof, the maximum possible thereof, to the Blessed Trinity on earth, was not something to be let go of just like that. And so it was that it didn't make me do anything more but finish my vows which expired, and then, after the year, make the perpetually professed there, and ordained immediately. Providence took care of things which could have been very, very complicated. It was all because of a simple letter and a simple saying, fiat. We throw too many spanners in the works by over-programming, when actually God is hinting very simply, come this way, and I will do the rest. So after seeing what could be done by saying simply fiat, I wrote these words back home in Wales and went off from the aeroplane to Italy, with actually a return ticket for a month, but didn't use the return part of it. St Norbert, to be 'neath thy mantle yet, and bathed in ancient light, to linger on a little longer where the ages met, upon a dot or two, not wholly done, but chanted evermore. Ah, melody, to hear thee come again across the years and call me home, where winged custody can hold me bound and safe from freedom's fears. 'Tis to be tugged by one last cord, too strong to be so quickly snipped. For dipped am I, not in a nocturne rave, but matins long that have oft sunk 'neath soft oblivion's sky. I cannot leave this land of foreshown beauty that becks one